Dr. Edwin Kipling wasn't exactly the adventurous type. As a world-weary physicist with more gray hairs than he cared to count, he preferred the predictable hum of his laboratory to the unpredictable chaos of time travel. Yet, here he was, standing in a dusty, half-empty bakery in 1892, a time and place he never intended to visit. The aroma of freshly baked bread mingled with the earthy scent of flour, creating an oddly comforting atmosphere. Edwin glanced around, his modern attire starkly contrasting with the period-appropriate garb of the bakery's patrons. He had expected grand historical events, perhaps the signing of a declaration or a pivotal moment in the Roman Empire. Instead, he found himself face to face with Mr. Burns, a portly baker whose cheeks were as rosy as the pastries he struggled to perfect. Edwin, thinking, this is it? I travel through time and space to watch a middle-aged man roll dough? For this, I left my comfy office chair. He sighed, pulling out his sleek, futuristic time travel device, a small silver sphere with blinking lights that pulsed softly in his palm. The device had been his ticket to countless adventures, but so far, none had been particularly exciting. As he examined it, Edwin realized that this moment, this seemingly insignificant scene, was not just a random stop. It was a preordained moment, the first step of his mission to prevent a global catastrophe. But, of course, he didn't know it yet. Curiosity got the better of him. Edwin took a tentative step forward, accidentally bumping into Mr. Burns. The baker, momentarily flustered, lost his balance, and a tray of freshly made croissants cascaded to the floor. The dough flattened in such a way that it triggered a chain reaction, setting off a disastrous fire in the bakery d'Amar. Burns, oh, heavens! Not again. Edwin, no. No, no, no. As the flames began to lick the edges of the flour-dusted surfaces, Edwin's mind raced. He had altered something. The fire would force the bakery to close, causing Mr. Burns to lose his business. This small change, so seemingly trivial, would snowball into something unimaginable. Panic surged through him. He needed to fix this, to prevent the butterfly effect from spiraling out of control. He fumbled with the time travel device, desperately trying to reverse the alteration. Back in his time machine, Edwin felt the familiar sensations of displacement, dizziness, a sense of being stretched and compressed all at once. The world blurred around him, colors melding into one another until he stood again in the bakery, just moments before the collision. This time, he resolved to be more careful. He observed Mr. Burns from a distance, calculating his every move. If he could avoid any interaction, perhaps he could prevent the disastrous outcome. He decided to remain a silent observer, watching the baker perfect his croissants without interference. However, as Edwin watched, he noticed something odd. Mr. Burns placed the tray of croissants into the oven with a precise motion, but one croissant slipped off the edge, landing on the floor. Edwin's heart sank. This event was supposed to be controlled, part of the larger design he was meant to influence. Yet, here it was, a small, uncontrollable change. Edwin, thinking, this was not supposed to happen. How do you control fate with something as flimsy as a croissant? He tried to intervene again, stepping further back, altering his position, even changing his stance. Each attempt to correct the trajectory of the falling croissant resulted in unexpected, often comedic consequences. A misplaced foot sent him stumbling into a stack of sacks, sending flour billowing into the air like a white cloud. Mr. Burns, now more flustered, knocked over a shelf of baking tins, each one clattering to the ground with a resounding thud. Edwin's frustration grew. No matter how carefully he tried to manipulate the situation, the past seemed far less malleable than he had hoped. It clung to its own internal logic, resisting his attempts to control it. He began to realize that the past was a complex web of interconnected events, far more intricate than a simple series of isolated choices. As the days, or what felt like days in the time machine, passed, Edwin's confidence began to wane. He attempted to rewind time multiple times, each reset offering a fleeting chance to set things right. Yet, each time he returned, the scene had mutated in unpredictable ways. A slightly altered angle of his bump led to a different sequence of events. A minor shift in his timing caused a previously unnoticed ingredient to spill, changing the entire flavor of the croissants. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the bakery's dusty windows, Edwin decided to take a more significant approach. If small changes were causing chaos, perhaps making a more substantial alteration would give him better control over the outcome. He focused his device on a different moment in history, a small, obscure scientific paper published in 1903. This paper, while seemingly insignificant at the time, would later lead to a major breakthrough in energy production. If Edwin could intervene early enough, he might be able to steer the course of history and prevent the impending global disaster he knew was looming. With determination, he set his coordinates, activating the time travel device. The familiar sensations enveloped him once more, and he found himself standing in a crowded lecture hall. A young scientist named Dr. Clara Hargrove was presenting her findings, unaware of the pivotal role her work would play in the future. Edwin watched intently, analyzing the room, the audience, every minor detail. He knew that if he could influence Dr. Hargrove just slightly, he could ensure the paper was either published or suppressed, depending on what needed to be done to avert catastrophe. Taking a deep breath, he approached the podium, intent on delivering a subtle suggestion to Clara. But as he reached out to place a reassuring hand on her shoulder, the unexpected happened. Clara recoiled, dropping her papers in a frantic gesture. The scientific paper fluttered to the ground, scattering across the room. Dr. Hargrove, oh no! My work! Edwin reached down, trying to gather the scattered papers, but his actions had unintended consequences. A nearby attendee, irritated by the disruption, snatched the papers and shoved them into his briefcase. The paper was lost forever, never to be published. But the ripple effect was far worse than Edwin had anticipated. Without Clara's groundbreaking research, the world's energy landscape took a different turn. Nations, hungry for progress, plunged into fierce competition over scarce resources. Technological advancements that relied on her findings never materialized, leading to stagnation in crucial fields. Tensions rose, alliances crumbled, and soon, the world found itself on the brink of a new, more devastating global conflict. Edwin, thinking, I swear, it's as if I'm being played by the universe. These aren't accidents anymore. Someone's pulling the strings. His attempts to rectify the situation only compounded the chaos. Governments fell under the strain of resource scarcity, economies plummeted, and societies teetered on the edge of collapse. Edwin watched helplessly as the world he knew began to unravel, all because of his misguided interventions. Desperate and on the brink of giving up, Edwin found himself wandering through the remnants of a world gone awry. Cities that once thrived were now ghostly echoes of their former selves, landscapes scarred by conflict and neglect. It was in this desolation that he encountered Sophie, a mysterious older woman with an air of quiet authority. Sophie appeared seemingly out of nowhere, her presence both calming and enigmatic. She observed Edwin with a knowing gaze, as if she had been expecting him all along. Sophie, you're struggling to make sense of it all, aren't you? Edwin, taken aback, nodded cautiously. Who are you? Sophie, someone who understands the threads you're trying to weave, and the ones you can't. Edwin felt a mix of skepticism and intrigue. Do you know about time travel? Sophie smiled faintly. I know about attempts to change the course of time. And I know why you're here. Edwin took a step closer, his desperation evident. I'm trying to prevent a catastrophe. Every small change I make seems to lead to greater chaos. I thought if I could control the variables, I could steer history back on track. But it's not working. Sophie nodded, her expression sympathetic. You believe time is a linear path, something you can guide with precision. But time is more like a web, interconnected and self-regulating. Each thread affects the others in ways you can't predict. Edwin, so, what am I supposed to do? Just stand by and watch as everything falls apart. Sophie, no, not watch. Understand. The past's legacy is already entwined with the future. Every action you take is already part of that legacy, even if you can't see it yet. Edwin frowned, trying to grasp her meaning. Are you saying my attempts to change things are futile? Sophie, not futile, just misguided. You see, every choice you make, every alteration you attempt, is already accounted for in the grand tapestry of time. The universe doesn't bend to our will as easily as we'd like to think. Edwin sat down heavily on a nearby bench, the weight of his failures pressing down on him. So, what's the solution? How do I prevent the catastrophe without causing more harm? Sophie took a seat beside him, her presence soothing. Acceptance. Understand that the past cannot be changed, only observed and perhaps subtly influenced without force. Let the legacy of the past guide your actions in the present, rather than trying to rewrite it. Edwin, but how? How do I know which actions will lead to the best outcome? Sophie, by embracing the chaos and finding patterns within it. Trust in the interconnectedness of events, rather than trying to control each one individually. Sometimes, the most significant changes come from the smallest, most unexpected moments. Edwin contemplated her words, the frustration slowly giving way to a begrudging acceptance. So, you're saying I need to stop trying to fix everything and focus on understanding the bigger picture? Sophie, exactly. Time has its own momentum, and while you can observe and gently influence, you cannot, and perhaps should not, force changes against its natural flow. Edwin exhaled deeply, feeling a sense of clarity amidst the chaos. All right. I'll try to see it that way. But I still need to prevent that catastrophe. Sophie placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You will. But remember, your role isn't to be the puppeteer, but a participant in the intricate dance of time. With that, she stood up, her form fading into the misty remnants of the ravaged world. Edwin watched her go, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Perhaps there was a way to fulfill his mission without causing further disruption, a way to honor the legacy of the past without trying to control it. Edwin returned to his time machine, the silver sphere pulsating softly in his hand. He had much to ponder, and the weight of Sophie's words lingered in his mind. Determined to proceed with a new approach, he set his sights on another historical moment, a seemingly trivial event that, according to his research, held the key to stabilizing the timeline. This time, he aimed to influence the actions of a single individual whose choices had far-reaching consequences. A quiet librarian named Margaret Ellis, whose dedication to preserving ancient texts would inadvertently spark a movement that would change the course of history. If Edwin could ensure that Margaret remained steadfast in her mission, perhaps he could prevent the cascading failures he had witnessed. Activating the time device, Edwin felt the familiar surge of energy as he was transported to the past. He found himself in a modest library, the scent of old paper and ink filling the air. Margaret was engrossed in cataloging a newly acquired collection of manuscripts, her brow furrowed in concentration. Edwin approached cautiously, mindful of Sophie's advice to avoid direct interference. He decided to offer subtle encouragement, hoping to bolster Margaret's resolve without altering her fundamental character. Edwin, excuse me, Miss Ellis. Your work is truly remarkable. Margaret looked up, startled but polite. Oh, thank you. It's a labor of love, preserving these texts for future generations. Edwin nodded, maintaining a respectful distance. Have you ever considered expanding the library's collection? There are so many untapped resources out there. Margaret smiled, a spark of inspiration in her eyes. I have thought about it, but funding is always an issue. It's hard to convince the board to invest more. Edwin felt a pang of frustration. This small conversation, this fleeting interaction, could have significant implications. If Margaret received the right encouragement, she might secure the necessary funds, leading to the preservation and dissemination of knowledge that could prevent future conflicts. He hesitated, unsure if this was the right path. But remembering Sophie's words about subtle influence, he decided to proceed. Edwin, perhaps there are alternative ways to garner support. Networking with influential patrons or organizing community events might help. Margaret's eyes brightened. That's an excellent idea. Hosting a series of lectures or exhibitions could attract attention and funding. I'll draft a proposal right away. Edwin smiled inwardly, hopeful that this small nudge could make a difference. He turned to leave, satisfied that he had contributed positively without overstepping. As he activated the time device once more, Edwin couldn't shake the feeling that things were starting to align. Perhaps Sophie was right. Maybe by focusing on these subtle shifts, he could guide the timeline without causing further disruption. Days turned into weeks as Edwin continued his mission, traveling to various historical moments to observe and gently influence key individuals. Each interaction was meticulously planned, each decision weighed against potential outcomes. Slowly, he began to see patterns emerge, a delicate balance maintained by countless small actions. However, despite his careful efforts, the world around him remained unstable. Reports of political unrest, economic downturns, and social upheaval continued to surface. It was clear that the impending catastrophe was not a single event but a culmination of numerous factors, many of which were beyond his control. Frustration gnawed at him. He had been so focused on correcting the past that he had neglected the present. The time machine, once a symbol of hope, now felt like a burden, its presence a constant reminder of his inability to avert disaster. One evening, as Edwin sat alone in his lab, the hum of machinery filling the silence, he pondered Sophie's words. Acceptance. Understanding the interconnectedness of events rather than trying to control each one individually. It was a philosophy that clashed with his scientific mind, yet something about it resonated deeply within him. He closed his eyes, allowing himself to relax for the first time since his mission began. Images of the past flickered in his mind: Mr. Burns in the bakery, Dr. Clara Hargrove presenting her paper, Margaret Ellis cataloging manuscripts. Each moment was a thread in the intricate web of time, and Edwin realized that his role was not to dominate the threads but to understand their interplay. Determined to change his approach, Edwin decided to focus less on altering specific events and more on fostering resilience within the present. If he could strengthen the fabric of society, perhaps it could withstand the impending catastrophe without him having to manipulate every historical moment. He began by collaborating with local communities, sharing his knowledge of history and encouraging proactive measures to address potential crises. Workshops on conflict resolution, sustainable practices, and community building became a staple of his efforts. Slowly but surely, Edwin witnessed the emergence of stronger, more cohesive communities, better equipped to handle the challenges ahead. Yet, the looming shadow of global disaster remained. The signs were unmistakable: a series of natural disasters, economic collapses, and political tensions that hinted at an inevitable downfall. Edwin knew that his efforts, while meaningful, were not enough to prevent the catastrophe he had foreseen. In his darkest moments, Edwin contemplated giving up. The weight of responsibility was overwhelming, and the futility of his actions seemed apparent. But then, he remembered Sophie's parting words: "Your role isn't to be the puppeteer, but a participant in the intricate dance of time." With renewed determination, Edwin shifted his focus from trying to control the timeline to understanding it. He delved deeper into the study of time's complexities, seeking patterns and connections that could offer insights into the impending disaster. Through countless hours of research and observation, he began to piece together the puzzle, identifying key factors that contributed to the global instability. One crucial element stood out: a series of technological advancements that, while promising progress, had inadvertently led to environmental degradation and resource depletion. If Edwin could influence the development and implementation of these technologies, perhaps he could mitigate their negative impacts without stifling innovation. Armed with this knowledge, Edwin set out to engage with inventors, policymakers, and industrial leaders of the time. He advocated for sustainable practices, the ethical use of technology, and the importance of environmental conservation. His efforts were met with resistance at first, but gradually, his message began to resonate. Edwin realized that true change required a collective effort, a shift in mindset rather than a series of isolated interventions. By fostering a culture of responsibility and foresight, he hoped to guide society towards a more sustainable and harmonious future. As months turned into years, Edwin watched as his efforts began to bear fruit. Communities became more resilient, technologies were developed with sustainability in mind, and a global consciousness towards environmental preservation took root. The world, while still flawed, was taking steps in the right direction. Yet, despite these positive changes, the specter of catastrophe still loomed. Edwin knew that the path to prevention was fraught with challenges, and that his mission was far from over. But for the first time, he felt a glimmer of hope, a belief that perhaps, through understanding and collaboration, the legacy of the past could be honored without being shackled by it. One crisp autumn morning, as Edwin stood on a hill overlooking a thriving community garden, a symbol of resilience and hope, he felt a sense of peace. The journey had been arduous, filled with setbacks and moments of doubt, but he had learned invaluable lessons about time, fate, and the interconnectedness of all things. He glanced at the time travel device in his hand, its lights dimmed but still pulsing softly. His mission was ongoing, but he was no longer driven by desperation to control the timeline. Instead, he was guided by a deeper understanding of his place within the intricate dance of time. As the sun set, casting a golden hue over the landscape, Edwin made a silent vow to continue his work, not as a manipulator of history, but as a guardian of its legacy. The past had shaped the present, and the present would, in turn, shape the future. It was a cycle of endless possibilities, a testament to the enduring power of human resilience and the unyielding spirit of progress. Edwin stood on the hill, watching the vibrant community garden below flourish under the care of dedicated residents. The sight filled him with a sense of accomplishment, yet the weight of his mission pressed heavily on his shoulders. The lessons Sophie had imparted echoed in his mind: acceptance, understanding, and the intricate dance of time. He knew that while he had made strides in fostering resilience, the looming catastrophe was still a formidable adversary determined to bridge the gap between his understanding of time and the tangible reality he could influence. Edwin delved deeper into his research. He pored over historical records, scientific journals, and philosophical texts, seeking patterns and connections that might offer a pathway to averting the impending disaster. His nights were spent hunched over his desk, the soft glow of his desk lamp illuminating the pages of books that had once been mere curiosities. One evening, as a storm brewed on the horizon, Edwin stumbled upon a reference to an ancient manuscript, the Chronos Codex. The Codex was rumored to contain profound insights into the nature of time, written by a forgotten civilization that had mastered the art of temporal manipulation. Legend spoke of its ability to reveal the hidden threads that connected past, present, and future, offering guidance to those who sought to understand the true essence of time. Intrigued, Edwin set out to locate the Codex. His research led him to a secluded monastery nestled in the remote mountains, a place untouched by modern civilization. The journey was arduous, testing his endurance and resolve. Days turned into nights as he trekked through dense forests, crossed raging rivers, and climbed steep, rocky paths. Yet, the prospect of uncovering the secrets of the Chronos Codex propelled him forward. Upon reaching the monastery, Edwin was greeted by the abbot, a serene man with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. The abbot listened intently as Edwin explained his quest, sensing the sincerity and desperation in the physicist's voice. Abbot Elias, the Chronos Codex is not merely a book. It is a testament to the harmony between humanity and time. Those who seek its knowledge must approach with humility and respect, for its wisdom is profound and not easily grasped. Edwin nodded, understanding the gravity of his request. The abbot led him through the monastery's ancient halls, finally arriving at a secluded chamber where the codex was kept. The room was bathed in soft candlelight, the air thick with the scent of incense and aged parchment. Gently, the abbot presented Edwin with a weathered leather-bound tome, its cover adorned with intricate symbols that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. Edwin felt a surge of anticipation mixed with reverence as he took hold of the codex. Abbot Elias, the codex will reveal itself to those who seek with pure intent. Approach it with an open mind and a willing heart. Edwin settled into a comfortable chair, opening the codex to its first page. The text was written in a language he couldn't immediately decipher, but as he focused, the words began to rearrange themselves, forming sentences in English. The codex detailed the philosophy of time as a living entity, a flowing river that interconnected every moment, every choice, every legacy. One passage, in particular, stood out: time is not a river to be controlled, but a canvas to be understood. Each action, no matter how small, adds a stroke to the masterpiece of existence. Embrace the flow, and let your actions harmonize with the symphony of time. As Edwin absorbed the words, a deeper understanding began to take root. The codex wasn't offering a way to control time but rather to align oneself with its natural progression. It emphasized the importance of intention, harmony, and the recognition that every action contributes to the greater tapestry of existence. Armed with this newfound wisdom, Edwin felt a shift within himself. The struggle to control time had blinded him to the subtle ways in which he could influence the present without disrupting the delicate balance of the past. It wasn't about manipulation but about alignment and contribution. Returning to his time machine, Edwin activated the device, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that his mission was not to rewrite history but to enhance the present, ensuring that the legacy of the past was honored and that the future could unfold with resilience and grace. His next destination was a pivotal moment in environmental history, a conference in 1962 where influential scientists gathered to discuss the burgeoning field of renewable energy. Edwin understood that this gathering was crucial in shaping the global approach to sustainability. By ensuring that the conference proceeded smoothly and that the key messages were effectively communicated, he could foster a stronger foundation for environmental consciousness. Arriving at the conference, Edwin observed the room filled with eager minds and passionate individuals. He identified Dr. Lena Martinez, a young environmental scientist whose groundbreaking research had the potential to revolutionize energy production. Edwin approached her with genuine interest, engaging in a conversation about her work and its implications. Edwin, Dr. Martinez, your research on solar energy is truly inspiring. Have you considered the long-term impacts of your findings on global sustainability? Dr. Martinez, thank you, Dr. Kipling. It's been a challenging journey, but I believe we're on the cusp of something transformative. However, garnering widespread support remains a hurdle. Edwin offered constructive feedback, sharing insights from his advanced understanding of energy technologies. He suggested potential collaborations and emphasized the importance of public awareness. Dr. Martinez felt a renewed sense of determination, her ideas gaining clarity and momentum through their dialogue. As Edwin departed the conference, he felt a sense of fulfillment. His interaction with Dr. Martinez, though seemingly minor, had the potential to accelerate advancements in renewable energy, laying the groundwork for a more sustainable future. It was a testament to the power of understanding in aligning with the natural flow of time, rather than attempting to control it. Weeks turned into months as Edwin continued his mission, carefully selecting moments where his influence could foster positive change without disrupting the delicate balance of history. He became a silent guardian, subtly guiding key individuals and communities towards actions that would strengthen societal resilience and environmental sustainability. However, the shadow of the impending catastrophe still loomed. Despite his efforts, signs of global instability persisted. Economic fluctuations, political tensions, and environmental challenges continued to mount. Edwin realized that his mission required a more comprehensive approach, one that addressed the root causes of the impending disaster rather than merely its symptoms. Reflecting on Sophie's teachings and the wisdom of the Chronos Codex, Edwin understood that true change required a holistic perspective. It wasn't enough to influence isolated events, he needed to cultivate a global consciousness that prioritized sustainability, cooperation, and resilience. With this realization, Edwin embarked on a new strategy, fostering interconnectedness and collective responsibility. He sought to create networks of like-minded individuals, bringing together scientists, community leaders, educators, and activists to collaborate on initiatives that promoted environmental stewardship and social cohesion. Through these networks, Edwin facilitated the exchange of knowledge and resources, encouraging collaborative projects that addressed pressing global challenges. He organized conferences, workshops, and symposiums, providing platforms for dialogue and innovation. The momentum built as communities began to see the value of collective action, their efforts interwoven into a larger movement towards sustainability. One of Edwin's most significant endeavors was the establishment of the Global Resilience Initiative, GRI, a coalition dedicated to enhancing societal resilience against environmental and economic disruptions. The GRI focused on developing sustainable technologies, promoting education on environmental issues, and fostering international cooperation to address global challenges. As the GRI gained traction, Edwin witnessed the gradual transformation of societal attitudes. People became more aware of their impact on the environment, communities strengthened their support systems, and nations began to collaborate on solutions that transcended borders. The world, once teetering on the brink of catastrophe, started to pivot towards a path of sustainability and resilience, yet, Edwin remained vigilant, aware that the journey was far from over. The forces that threatened global stability were multifaceted, and the success of the GRI depended on the continued commitment of individuals and communities worldwide. He understood that his role was not to dictate but to inspire, to empower others to take ownership of their actions and their impact on the world. In the midst of his endeavors, Edwin received a transmission from his time machine, a signal indicating an anomaly in the timeline. It was a moment he had anticipated but hoped to avoid. The catalyst for the impending catastrophe was still present, a pivotal event that had yet to be fully addressed. Determined to confront the anomaly, Edwin set his coordinates for the year 2035, a year when technological advancements had accelerated but had also led to unforeseen environmental consequences. His mission was clear: identify and address the specific event that threatened to unravel the progress he and the GRI had made. Arriving in 2035, Edwin found himself in a bustling metropolis teeming with innovation and technological marvels. Skyscrapers pierced the heavens, powered by renewable energy sources that had become the backbone of the city's infrastructure. Yet, beneath the surface, a silent threat loomed. An experimental energy reactor, designed to harness the power of fusion, was on the verge of a critical failure. The reactor, while promising unprecedented energy output, had been plagued by technical issues and safety concerns. Its potential to provide limitless clean energy was overshadowed by the risks it posed to the environment and human safety. If left unchecked, the reactor's instability could trigger a chain reaction, leading to a catastrophic meltdown that would devastate the city and have far-reaching global implications. Edwin knew that addressing this issue was paramount. He needed to ensure that the reactor was either safely decommissioned or that the necessary measures were taken to stabilize it. However, he also understood that direct interference could have unintended consequences, further complicating the timeline. He decided to approach Dr. Aisha Rahman, the lead scientist overseeing the reactor project. Dr. Rahman was a brilliant mind, passionate about advancing fusion technology, yet burdened by the mounting pressure to deliver results. Her dedication was unwavering, but the stress had taken a toll on her well-being and judgment. Edwin sought an opportunity to speak with her privately, offering support and guidance without revealing his true nature or the full extent of his knowledge. He engaged her in conversations about the reactor's potential, encouraging her to prioritize safety and sustainability over rapid progress. Edwin, Dr. Rahman, your work on the fusion reactor is groundbreaking. Have you considered implementing additional safety protocols to ensure its stability? Dr. Rahman, thank you, Dr. Kipling. We are pushing the boundaries of what's possible, but the pressures are immense. Every day brings new challenges, and the margin for error is razor-thin. Edwin provided her with insights drawn from his advanced understanding of fusion technology, suggesting modifications to the reactor's design that could enhance its stability without compromising its efficiency. He emphasized the importance of thorough testing and the implementation of fail-safe mechanisms to prevent potential disasters. Dr. Rahman, your suggestions are invaluable, Dr. Kipling. I'll present them to the team immediately. If we can integrate these changes, it could significantly reduce the risks associated with the reactor. Edwin watched as Dr. Ramon took his advice to heart, rallying her team to implement the necessary modifications. The reactor's operations were adjusted, and comprehensive safety measures were put in place. Over the following weeks, the reactor's performance stabilized, and the threat of a meltdown was effectively neutralized. With the crisis averted, Edwin felt a profound sense of relief. His intervention had successfully addressed the anomaly without disrupting the broader timeline. The reactor continued to provide clean energy, contributing to the city's sustainability efforts and reinforcing the progress made by the GRI. As Edwin prepared to depart, he reflected on the culmination of his mission. The journey had been fraught with challenges, moments of doubt, and profound realizations about the nature of time and legacy. He had learned to embrace the flow of time, understanding that his role was not to control but to support and enhance the collective efforts of humanity towards a sustainable future. Returning to his own time, Edwin found himself back in his laboratory, the familiar surroundings a stark contrast to the vibrant landscapes he had visited. The time machine hummed softly, its light steady and reassuring. He took a moment to absorb the culmination of his experiences, feeling a sense of fulfillment that had eluded him at the outset of his journey. The world had changed, evolving in ways that honored the legacy of the past while forging a path towards a resilient and sustainable future. The GRI had become a cornerstone of global efforts, fostering collaboration and innovation that transcended borders and disciplines. Communities thrived, empowered by the knowledge and resources to navigate the challenges of an ever-changing world. Edwin knew that his mission was far from over. Time was a continuous flow, an ever-evolving tapestry woven by the actions of countless individuals. His role as a guardian of the legacy required ongoing dedication, a commitment to understanding and supporting the intricate dance of time. As he looked out of his laboratory window, watching the cityscape blend seamlessly with the natural landscape, Edwin felt a profound sense of peace. The journey had transformed him, deepening his understanding of time, fate, and the enduring power of human resilience. He set his time machine to standby mode, a symbol of his choice to remain rooted in the present, to continue his work alongside those who shared his vision for a better future. The past, with all its complexities and lessons, had shaped him into a guardian of legacy, a protector of the delicate balance that sustained the world. In that moment, Edwin realized that true legacy was not about altering the past or controlling the future, but about contributing meaningfully to the present. It was about fostering connections, empowering others, and nurturing the seeds of resilience that would blossom into a sustainable and harmonious world. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the city, Edwin felt the culmination of his journey, a journey that began with a seemingly insignificant moment in a dusty bakery and had evolved into a mission of profound significance. He understood that the legacy of the past was not a burden to be carried but a beacon guiding him towards a future shaped by understanding, cooperation, and unwavering resilience. Final line: in honoring the past and embracing the present, we shape a future where every legacy, no matter how small, contributes to the enduring masterpiece of existence. The end.